business. By your presence here tonight, you are telling us that the federal government, via the Department of Homeland Security, has completely failed in its job of securing our borders. Our tax dollars are apparently more important in your minds being spent on the illegals rather than those born here in the first place.
Over 1,000 angry residents of a small Virginia town packing a town hall meeting last week to voice their outrage over the government's plan to move hundreds of those illegal immigrant children from the southern border to their rural community. The feds ultimately deciding to back off of the plan for now. But we are also investigating why the feds were advertising for escorts to move these kids around the country as early as last January. I thought they were caught by surprise. Why were they contracting to have people move the children in? Trace Gallagher has a report live from our West Coast newsroom. Trace?
And Megan, why is the administration scrambling now to find places to shelter this steady flow of unaccompanied children if they knew 6 months ago they were coming? It turns out back in January, the Department of Homeland Security began shopping for contractors to help transport these children, saying, quoting here, there will be approximately 65,000 unaccompanied alien children in total, 25% local transport, 25% via ICE charter, and 50% via commercial air. ICE now confirms the document is real, but tells us the contract is just long-term contingency planning. But 65,000 unaccompanied children is almost triple the number that crossed the year before, and 10 times the number that crossed back in 2011. Critics also wonder if the administration knew they were coming, why not send more agents to help protect the border in the first place? In an op-ed that ran in Spanish language outlets this weekend, DHS Secretary Jay Johnson said these children will not receive citizenship, saying, quote, the long journey is not only dangerous, there are no permisos, permits, or free passes at the end. But the contract to escort these kids says they'll be taken to Office of Refugee Resettlement shelters across the country. If you don't know, refugee resettlement falls under Health and Human Services, and its stated mission and purpose is to help relocate, process, and provide services to individuals granted asylum. All of these unaccompanied kids, Megan, are supposed to go through immigration courts, but it's very unclear exactly how many will. Megan.
Trace, thank you. Joining us now with more, Tom Dupree. He's a constitutional attorney and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General. Tom, good to see you.
Good evening.
And so I know you believe that this document showing this contract put out in January is the smoking gun in this case. Why?
It illustrates what the administration knew but has not leveled with the American public about, namely that they anticipated a surge in unaccompanied minors coming over our border. And given that they not only anticipated it, but they were actively planning for this very contingency by putting out a request to hire federal contractors to accompany these children, it really raises the question of why the administration wasn't better prepared by securing the borders, by ensuring adequate facilities to house and detain these individuals, and otherwise taking steps to ensure that we weren't caught off guard as the administration claims to have been.
That's the thing. How can they claim that they were caught off guard when they have? I mean, we were looking at the document. It says there will be approximately 65,000 unaccompanied minors crossing the border illegally, they're saying, in total. And they're planning ahead. They know exactly how many there are going to be, Tom. They knew in advance.
Right. They knew in advance, and I think the worrisome thing here is, Megan, is that they are causing, in large part, this surge by essentially saying to the world at large that we in the United States are going to enforce a policy of resettlement rather than removal. And when you put up in big neon signs that we have open borders and that people are welcome to come here and that we're not going to remove you, we're not going to detain you, we're going to resettle you within the United States if you're an unaccompanied minor, it's an invitation to migrants to cross the border and to come here. So I think the administration's policies and their failure to enforce the rule of law is in large part responsible for this surge.
Well, the administration basically admitted that over the weekend, that indeed it was their policies that led to this great influx of people, as we have seen. And by the way, I do want to say that in that town, they were objecting because these kids were coming in and there was no facility in which to put them that they felt comfortable with. There was like a closed facility that hadn't been open for a while, St. Paul's College. It could house up to 500 children in dormitories, but it closed a year ago. And that's the problem, Tom. They don't have any place to put the people to whom they've opened the door. I got to leave it at that. See you soon.
Terrific. Thank you.
Also breaking